Hi there. Greetings from 4126 Glen Lake Terrace. I would love to be in a meeting with you guys or at a worship service or a prayer meeting, but we continue on in this pandemic and look forward to the day that we can gather together. And I just want to share a word of encouragement with you this morning about how we need to respond to what's going on in our nation. The tragedy is the murder of George Floyd. The tragedy is his murder, leaving a wife, leaving a daughter, leaving other family members, and that just shouldn't happen in our nation. And so I just want to encourage you to actually do something that the Bible tells us to do. I think it's important to ask, are my attitudes and my responses biblical? Not are they correct philosophically, or do the people around me actually support my ideas, but actually are they biblical? And one of the commands that the New Testament gives us is it tells us in Romans 12 to weep with those who weep. And one of the things that I've learned over the years is it's hard to weep with someone that you don't have empathy for. If you don't see how tragic something is. And I would say that that's in general just something that we as Americans and Westerners don't do very well. We are not good at lamenting, but we're great at rejoicing. And so I would just say that think biblically about this, and I want to give you a couple of things that I think will help you to be able to weep with those who weep. Just to give you my background a little bit, I was born in the South. I initially was going to a school of all whites, and then they passed the law of desegregation, and all the whites and blacks went to one school. Well, guess what happened? The white churches in many towns across the South in a summer built schools so that white people could go to school with only white people. And black people would stay in schools with black people. So in my senior class, I was one of, say, 6 whites, and probably was the only white that was going to the public school whose parents could have afforded to send me to the private school. But when they did the desegregation, my father sat me down and he said, I just want you to know, I can't send you to a school that stands for one group of people being better than another group of people. I can't do that. And at that time, I didn't know how much that would impact my life or change me, but because all I knew is, as a 7th grader, all my friends were now in a different school. I didn't know anybody. I mean, I did know a few, not really friends with any of the black boys and girls that were my age, because in our town, you just didn't associate with each other. And so that was a life-changing experience for me. There were hard things about that. There were difficult things about that. But I think through that process, it actually helped me to understand black people in this country are not treated the same as white people. And just fast forward to 1998, there was a movie that came out, Just Mercy, and it's about this lawyer who's helping solve cases that are cold cases, and it's a story about this man who was unjustly imprisoned for murder. Clearly, the evidence didn't show that he did it. It showed that he didn't do it, and yet he was put in prison and had spent most of his life in prison just because of a system we have. And guys, we as believers have got to be the ones who change this, because it's not like our system's broken. It actually has never worked. And we need to be people who stand up for justice. And I think that starts with us extending a hand towards our brothers and sisters of different colors and actually saying to them, hey, tell me your story. And let their story affect your life. I've listened to a lot of stories over my life, and even this week I've been listening to stories of different people of color, and it's so tragic. It's so tragic how they've been treated. And we need to learn to really weep with those who weep. And I think it's imperative that we as believers lead the way in this. So if you don't have black friends or haven't had black friends in your past, and you haven't, you would say, I'm not even sure what you mean by white privilege. What is that? Start by taking a step toward those guys and asking them to share their story with you, and allow the impact of that story to soften your heart in ways that you may not realize it's been hard. And so hopefully this is encouraging. I think it's imperative that we respond to this situation. And just in case you didn't notice, go Tigers.